If your business isn't working the way you expected, it's not because you're bad at business. It's because no one ever taught you how it actually works. We were trained to master algorithms in medicine, but when it comes to revenue, teams, and growth, we were never taught anything. We weren't even told to figure it out. We just assumed somehow we'd know, like it would magically make sense, but it doesn't. The era of the seven figure physician CEO is here, and it's not about working harder. It's about learning entrepreneurship as a system. The same way you mastered ACLS and PALS, you can master the algorithm of building a profitable, scalable business. That's why I recorded the Seven Figure Physician CEO audiobook. Whether you're building a medical or non medical business, and whether your goal is your first million, first 2 million, first 5 million, first 10 million, this is where the journey starts. There's no Calvary coming to save us. We are the Calvary. So go get your audiobook now, www.entremd.com/seven-figure book, and let's rewrite the narrative for physicians starting today. On the inside of you is a version of you that can build a seven-figure business, is a version of you that can take your business to 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. But that version of you needs to go through a process to show up.
Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una.
Welcome back, my friend, to another episode of the EntreMD podcast. I am having quite the day. I'm recording this on the day of the launch of the Seven Figure Physician CEO audiobook. And it has been so amazing to see what is happening already. The doctors who are, ordering their books. And throughout this challenge, I said, I am all in on helping 1,000 doctors build their first, seven or multiple seven figures in revenue and all of that. I said, send me a DM or send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram if you are going to be one of the 1,000. And I get people like, Dr. Una, I'm one of your 1,000. And it's just so exciting, so beautiful. And I want to read what some of the doctors are saying. These are doctors who got their copies of the Seven Figure Physician CEO audiobook. This is what they've said about the book. And I want you to see what is happening already. This doctor said, I said, what is your biggest aha? This doctor said, I've listened to the intro and part of chapter 1. Okay. So this doctor is at the very beginning of her journey with this book. It says, so far, my biggest aha is being open to seven figures. I related so much to the Brian Tracy story and how you were glad you didn't close your mind to it, right? And so if you haven't read the book, I talk about the first time this was thrown at me, like make $1 million in revenue, and how grateful I was that I did not dismiss the thought. I entertained it. I let it sit there, and here we are, right? Many tens of millions of dollars in revenue later, right? Okay, so she goes on to say, I sometimes still feel a bit stuck in the I'm not doing it for the money thought, right? That's the thought. I'm not doing this for the money. Comes up a lot. I'm going to address that today. And often remind myself it's about who I become along the way. And hearing this story again was perfect timing, right? So this is amazing. And the idea is every chapter in the book, every paragraph in the book is designed to move you on this journey. Okay. So there's another doctor here. And she said, I just finished chapter 4. So many notes. This really is a textbook. And when she said that, I was like, yes, because this is exactly what we built it to do. It's not something you read and you're like, oh, that was interesting and inspiring. Oh, Dr. Una is amazing. We walk away. No, this is a textbook. It's about reading. It's about rereading. It's about workshopping. It's about installing the frameworks in your business. It's about going after it and coming back and reading the chapter again and going again. It's a textbook, right? And we read it the same way we read our medical books, which is for mastery, right? So she says it really is a textbook. My biggest takeaway so far, don't get bored with the things that got you here. Perfect them, do the reps, innovate on them, which is a very powerful thought because, there is this thing that happens to us when we start creating results in our businesses where we feel, oh, we've completely outgrown the strategies and we've outgrown all of these things. And now we're looking for these big exotic things. And I'm like, listen, you look at the NBA and you look at the players who are killing it, the greatest of all times, the Michael Jordans and the Stephen Currys and the LeBron James and all these people. And you will find they are doing the same moves. They're just really good at those moves, right? And so this 7-figure framework is not something you outgrow. I have studied businesses all the way to billions in revenue. And when you look at what they're doing, they are doing these same things. They're just doing them better. They're doing them in bigger volume and all of that stuff. So this is a very powerful thought. And this doctor has already crossed 1 million in revenue, right? And she reads this book and this is what she comes away with, right? I'll read one more. And so this doctor said, I just finished chapter 4. Chapter 4 seems to be, famous chapter 4. Okay, I just finished chapter 4. It's an incredibly powerful book thus far. And then she goes on to say it's like the absolute synopsis to the entire year of the EntreMD Business School experience, because what we do in the EntreMD Business School is we take these concepts and then we create the mentorship around them. We create the accountability. So you're executing on them. Because when you read the book, you'll know this will work, right? But sometimes we don't do what we need to do. And so we build this system of accountability and we build a community of people doing the same thing. It's unbelievably wild. Okay. So this is what she said. And then she goes on to say how proud she is of how far she's come. And this book is going to help. It's going to help her accomplish her, her goal of 7 figures in 2026. And she grew so much. Like she launched her practice and she has experienced incredible growth, right? Just in 1 year. She says, my biggest takeaways are to stay consistent with the daily habits, mastering the CEO calendar, which is a time mastery tool we use in the EntreMD Business School, while working on the 20% activities consistently and delegating the remainder of the tasks and making sure to fill my cup in all other areas, avenues of life, because we talk about that, right? Like, so even though the EntreMD Business School is a business school, you have a whole life, right? It's not about thriving in business and failing everywhere else. It's about thriving in business and thriving everywhere else as well, right? We can't have it all. And then she goes on to say, thank you, Dr. Una, for this gem and for being such a passionate, fantastic coach. And thank you for that, doc. You know who you are. And so I wanted to read this because these are not doctors who are like brand new to this concept. They've worked this concept. It's just that we elevated it, we simplified it, we did all this. So these are doctors who are on their path to 7 figures, have crossed 7 figures. We have reports from doctors who are doing multiple 7 figures and all of these things. And they are getting mind blown from this book. So I cannot think about a better thing for you to do for your business, like right in this moment, if you have not bought this book, than going to get the book. Okay, so entremd.com/7-figure book. Grab your copy. And for every doctor in your life that you love, and including the ones that you do not love, this is a book to give them and say, hey, just go listen to every private practice owner you look. Because why is this? Because this is the era of the 7-figure physician CEO, where this becomes the floor. This becomes the norm. This becomes the starting points. This becomes what we do. And it is so important that we embrace this, that today I decided to come in and talk to you about 3 reasons to create your next 7 figures in revenue. So if you haven't hit your first 7 figures, this is why you need to start thinking about that. If you have hit it and you're like, yeah, let's just chill here. This is why I want you to think about your next 7 figures in revenue. This is very powerful because I want you to approach this guilt-free. I don't want you, like the first doctor whose report I read said, I still have this thing of, I'm not really doing this for the money. The money is not the driver, right? The impact is the driver. The people we help, that's the driver. That's number 1. But money is right next to it. It's not number 10. It's right next to it. But I want you to be able to approach this in a way where it feels authentic, it feels moral, it feels right, it feels like this is the right thing to do. So you can go all in on it. Because if you have feelings of guilt, or if you have feelings of greed, or you have any of these things, it's going to stop you every single time. Okay, so let's talk about this. So 3 reasons to create your next 7 figures in revenue. Now, the first reason, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, but I'm going to unpack it even more. The first reason is for the person you become. For the person you become, there is a version of you on the inside of you that will blow your mind if you ever met him or her. It is in the process of taking on challenges like this that you put the pressure required to make this person come out. And when I talk about pressure, I'm not talking about your life is bent out of shape. I have no interest in your life being bent out of shape. I want you to enjoy this process. That's the reason why we created the book, so we can simplify it. That's the reason why we created the EntreMD Business School, so you can have support to workshop this, right? And all of that. So anyway, it's the person you become in the process. Now, when you look at nature, I like looking at nature, right? Because there's a lot of universal principles there. When you look at nature, you will find many examples of living things that become other things that do not look related at all in the beginning. I want you to think about a chicken and an egg. Okay, so let's think about it. How do we get a new chicken? It comes from an egg. Okay. Okay. When you take an egg, you have a hard shell, you have liquid on the inside. Some of the liquid is clear, some of the liquid is yellow, right? A chicken egg. That's what you have. However, inside of that egg is a beak, is feathers, is a digestive tract. There's legs, there's bones, there's a chicken brain. There's all of this in the liquid. The egg has to be subjected to a process. It's not going to automatically become a chicken. And this is what I try to tell doctors all the time. You're not going to magically go from doctor to physician entrepreneur. That's not the way it works. But if you take the time to go through the process, you can become. You can become. Okay, so the chicken egg goes through a process of incubation and then goes from the liquid in a hard shell to a chicken. In the same way, you may say, oh, I'm not the kind of person, I've never done that before, and all of that. I am trying to tell you that it does not matter, because on the inside of you is a person, is it not a different person, is a version of you that can build a seven-figure business, is a version of you that can take your business to 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, is a version of you that can lead a great team, is a version of you that can handle challenges and go through them with peace, is a version of you that can do all the work you do and have 8 extra weeks to take off in a year. That version exists, but that version of you needs to go through a process to show up. Now, one of the things you can do for this person to show up is take on a worthy challenge. And a worthy challenge, like building your first 7 figures in revenue, building multiple 7 figures in revenue, taking your business to 8 figures, will force you to morph into this person. Now, of course, let me stop and say this. You're going to need to invest in your education. That is the process of incubation. That is for instance, some of you are in the profitable private practice movement. Some of you are in the EntreMD business school. The reason why we put out the mentorship, the reason why we put out the community, the reason why we put out the accountability in increasing levels as you go along the journey of a 7-figure CEO is because that is the process required to make you into this person. And I'll give you an example in a second. Okay. All right. So I want you to imagine with me for a second that you become this person. You have shed your limiting beliefs. You know what they are. Oh, I can't make this amount of money. Oh, people won't follow me. I can't get this kind of result. All these crazy things that we think. Imagine shedding those. Imagine when you show up to work on your business, you show up like a CEO who knows what they're doing. You know the strategic actions to take. Imagine that you take these actions so strategically that you have more time off, not less time off. Imagine the inner fears that are almost like a torment, that you have them under control, and your natural state is a state of peace. Imagine that you're able to get all this time off so you have the time to invest in your family, invest in your health, invest in your faith, invest in your hobbies, invest in philanthropy. Like you could do all of that. You taking on the challenge of building creating your next 7 figures in revenue takes you on this journey of becoming this person. And let me tell you, it is the most rewarding thing. One, because of, the person you become, and then that person you become, what that person is able to do, the dreams that person is able to have. Okay, so I saw a post in the EntreMD Business School. The EntreMD Business School students have no clue how happy they make me. Okay, so I saw a post, and this post is by a doctor who, has been in the EntreMD Business School for about 6 months. And at the end of last year, took her business to multiple 6 figures. Okay, so multiple 6 figures, and had very interesting months, like really surpassed her goals. Okay. And she's on this journey, right? She's on this journey. I'm taking my business to 7 figures. I embrace it, all of this stuff. Now, after pulling off the kind of month that she pulled off, and towards the end of the year, she then says, my vision and my scope for my business have changed. And now I want to do it on this much larger scale, and I want to prep it for exit in the next 4 to 5 years. Why are we talking like this? Because of the person she has become. And she can see this. Now, yes, she did. She ended up the year with multiple 6 figures, but she ended it in such a way that she is on track for 7 figures, right? And so now not only can she see the seven figures, she can see the multiple seven figures. She can see herself exiting. She has a long-term perspective of 4 to 5 years exit and all of that stuff. And I am sure if I say, so tell me about this person you've become, I know she'll tell me, I love her. I love her, right? So there is a version of you. The same way someone could look at the chicken egg, oh, I'm just liquid, or, oh, I just liquid in a hard shell. Not knowing there's a whole chicken in there. And in that chicken, there are more eggs with more chickens and more eggs and more chickens. And we're talking like unbelievable. So the number one reason to say yes to this is because of the person you have to become to pull it off. You will love that person. Okay? All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the number of people you have to impact to pull it off. Okay. So I talked about the doc who was talking about exiting and all those things. But in that same post, she talked about the big impact she's going to have, the number of people she's going to need to serve. And not in a hustle, I'm about to die kind of way. Like when I looked at her plan, I'm like, this is a beautiful plan because it will help her do so much less in order to accomplish so much more. So it's a beautiful plan. It's an amazing plan, right? And she's going to have to touch a lot of people and touch corporations and touch organizations. Like she's going to change whole systems because she said yes to her next 7 figures in revenue, right? And in the same way, think about my business. I want to take my business to multiple 8 figures, for instance. What does that mean? It means more impact, more lives touched, bigger results created. If you have followed us for years, what you will see is as our revenue has grown, right? As our revenue has grown, our impact has grown in volume and in quality. In the beginning, we're like, oh, we help doctors embrace entrepreneurship so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms. And then we move to, and we help doctors build profitable businesses so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms. And then we went to, we help doctors build profitable 7 and multiple 7-figure businesses so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms. And now we're saying, we are going to make 7 figures the new floor. Like this is the starting point. This is the beginning. This is what we do. This is our default setting. And we are going to clarify the algorithm. We are going to teach. We're going to train. We're going to write books. We're going to host workshops. We're going to elevate massively the EntreMD Business School and the profitable private practice movement to pull it off. So the only way to pull this off, I mean, there are unethical ways, but we don't necessarily talk to physicians about that because we're ethical people. Right? And at the core, we want to help people. So the way for me to generate more is to help more people and to help people at a higher capacity. And guess what this is? This represents your legacy. Years and years and years after I'm gone, guess what is going to remain? The books I've written, the podcasts I've done, the doctors whose lives I've changed, the lives those doctors have gone on to change. The ripple effect, the fact that we rewrote the narrative for physician entrepreneurs and 7 figures became the new floor. And we went from private practices dropping like flies to private practices thriving and becoming like mini healthcare systems, and a legacy of helping so many physicians become empowered that we went back and took the driver's seat and put our hands on the steering of the healthcare space, and we drove it to a better place. We got rid of the chaos, right? Now, imagine that legacy. There is not a number you can put on that. What you see is embracing the number that gets you there. So I want you to think about it. You might say, well, I'm not doing what you're doing. And that's fine. We all have different businesses and different approaches. But in your business, you could do the same thing. In your private practice, think about it. If you're going to help people, if you're going to make more, you're going to have to help more of your community, help them in a different way, right? You're going to have to maybe empower other doctors to work with you. All kinds of stuff you're going to need to do. And that is a legacy worth going after. I have not talked to a million older people, but I've talked to a lot of them. And let me tell you what they're not celebrating. They're not celebrating an extra 7 figures. They're not celebrating another 10 million, but they are celebrating what the quest for that had them accomplish. They are celebrating the legacy. And if you do not build a business system around your ideas, if you do not build a robust business system, and when I say that, I don't mean so many moving parts and you're falling out of shape. No, I'm talking about the 7-figure framework. Simply what is in the book, what is in the 7-figure physician CEO book. If you do not build a system like that, there's a limit to how many people you can help. There's a limit to how far your business can go. And so what do you want to do? You want to build a business in such a way that you can help so many people And you can have such a significant impact, and you can have a true legacy. One that on your 90th birthday, you will be in tears because you'll be like, wow, my life did that. And you build it in such a way that it freed you up to have the same impact in your family where you're like, wow, my life did that. Right. And you're able to build quality relationships. And like, wow, my life did that. I am telling you that the pathway to becoming a version of yourself that'll blow your mind is creating your first or next 7 figures in revenue. The pathway to leaving a legacy that will make you cry, boo-hoo cry on your 90th birthday, is building and creating your next 7 figures in revenue. Okay, for you, maybe 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever number million. Okay, okay. And then the third thing, the third reason why you want to create your next 7 figures in revenue is it's what you really want. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my calculator and we are going to go to math class. Okay, it is what you really want. Okay, now a lot of times people have this thing of, I'm greedy if I want 7 figures, it's not about the money and all this stuff. Guys, we live in an economic world. Okay, it's like pretending there's no gravity. It's harmful to pretend there's no gravity because there's gravity. And if you disobey the laws of gravity, it will hurt you. In the same way, we live in an economic world. Pretending money doesn't matter will hurt you. And it hurts many physicians. Okay, so let's do some math here. Because when we hear 7 figures, they're like, oh, I don't want that much. Let's do some math. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of ease, let's use 7 figures. Okay, so first 7 figures in revenue. You're running a private practice, you're running a coaching practice, you're doing all this stuff. But let's use private practice for this specific example. Okay, so you're running an insurance-based private practice. And it's like, oh, 1 million is a lot. So let's look at 1 million. Okay. Okay. So let's assume, for the sake of ease of math, that your overhead is 50%. For many people, it's 60. For some people, it's even 70. But let's say it's 50%. So your overhead is 50% before your salary as a physician. Okay. Okay. So your overhead is 50%. So when you bring in 1 million, by the time you're done paying for all the things, you are left with $500,000. Okay. Which somebody may say, whoa, and that's a lot of money too. Okay. Or is it? Okay. So you have $500,000 left. Now, there is this person who is going to want his share of that money. And his name is Uncle Sam. And guys, you may say, this is not exact. What if we did this? I am trying to give you an example. This is an example to put things in perspective. So you can join me on this journey of saying, you know what? 7 figures is the new 4. Okay. Okay. So Uncle Sam is going to want his cut. Okay. So you brought 1 million in revenue. By the time you took care of overhead, you're left with 500,000, which is not half bad. And then Uncle Sam wants 30% of your $500,000. And that's $150,000. What are you left with? You're left with $350,000. And you might say, that's a good salary, but hang on. Let's see what else needs to happen with this $350,000. Number one, you need to pay yourself as the physician. Okay. You, the physician. Number one. Number two, you need to pay yourself as the CEO because you are the business owner. You're the CEO, and not paying yourself as the CEO is what sets you to never be able to afford a CEO or a practice manager or anything like that because you did not factor in the salary. You didn't factor in the salary. So the second salary that needs to be paid is you as the CEO. Well, after you as the CEO, there's you, the business owner, and the business owner gets a profit, right? And so we have your physician salary, your CEO salary. For the sake of a private practice, let's not even say CEO. Let's say practice management, okay? So you saw the patient, so you need to be paid as a physician. You manage the practice, so you need to be paid as a practice manager. And you're the owner of the practice, so you need to be paid as the business owner. That's your profits, your distributions, okay? And then, like every good practice, you want to put away something to reinvest in the practice, okay? So there are these 4 buckets. This is not exact. So don't say, oh, Dr. Una, I spoke with my CPA and this is not exact. It is true, but it's not exact. Now, you have 4 buckets that need to be filled from $350,000. This is the question I wanted to present to you. Does it make sense to then say, I want to earn less than $1 million? Because, for instance, this happens a lot in Facebook groups, right? Right. Someone to say, oh, my salary is 600,000 or 700,000, whatever. And the pediatricians will say, well, must be nice, right? Like, even thinking about this just makes my pediatrician self cry and stuff like that. Okay. So if I asked you as a pediatrician, for instance, or I asked you, like, we love pediatricians, they take care of our future, they take care of the children, they should be compensated better. And I say, okay, how much should a pediatrician earn? Right? You may say, well, they should earn somewhere between 280 and 350,000 or 500, whatever your number is, right? So let's say you say 350,000. Let's say you say 300,000. Well, let's look at a pediatrician's private practice. If a pediatrician makes $1 million in revenue and the overhead is 50%, because they have all these vaccines and all these wonderful things, the overhead is 50%. So they're left with 500,000 and Uncle Sam wants 30%. So they give Uncle Sam 150,000. They're left with 350,000 to pay themselves the physician, to pay the office manager themselves, to get a profit for the practice, and to reinvest in the practice. And all that they have to do this is 350,000. And so maybe they will be left with 150,000 to pay themselves by the time they do all of this. So now, guess what happens? We go from the insurance companies and the hospitals devaluing us to us devaluing us. Like we talk about they should pay us what we're worth, we should do all this stuff and all this stuff. But when we build businesses, we do the same thing that the corporations were doing to us by devaluing our services and saying, oh, it's not really about the money. I just want to help people. So why are we mad when in the hospital they say, well, we're not going to pay you money. You should just care about the people, because we do it to ourselves. And so run the numbers. Don't just play. And again, I'm not, this is not exact. I know that. But what I'm trying to do is paint a picture to show you $1 million is not that much. And I'm not saying it disrespectfully, like it's nothing. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is if you feel like doctors should be compensated well, they should be paid 300,000, they should be paid whatever, and they should have good benefits, and they should have all of these things, then 7 figures is a new floor. If you are building a business, then 7 figures is a new floor. So you can pay yourself the way you think doctors should be paid. Because what we're not going to do is run away from being devalued out there in the marketplace and building our own systems and devaluing ourselves. So 3 reasons to create your first or next 7 figures in revenue. Number 1, the person you become. Just think about how radical the transformation is from egg to chicken. You can experience radical transformations like that every time you set and accomplish your goal of hitting your next 7 figures in revenue. Number 2, the number of people you have to impact, which is your true legacy. And you are a physician. If you're a physician, what I know about you with 99.999% accuracy is that you love people, you want to help people, you went into medicine to help people, you went into medicine to make a change, to make a difference, and not even to necessarily do it on a small scale. You want to help a lot of people. So let me tell you what saying yes to building is creating your next 7 figures in revenue does for you. It sets you up to be able to do what you want to do, which is leave a legacy, which is help a lot of people, which is live a life of profound impact. Imagine building a business where you're changing, you're becoming the best version of yourself, and you're touching a lot of people, and you're creating financial freedom as you do it. What? Yes. Yes. And I want to invite you to say yes to this. Reason number 3 is what you really want. It is the only thing that really makes sense. Right? It is the only thing that puts you in a position where you go from being devalued to creating a space, a system where you are valued is what you really want. So the pathway to getting what you really want for yourself, for the people you serve, and for your life is going after your first or next 7 figures in revenue. Okay? Okay. So the time to embrace the 7-figure physician CEO journey is now. We are in the era of the 7-figure physician CEO. I don't want you to watch from the sidelines. I don't want you to be left behind. I want you to go all in on this. Okay. So that's why you're listening to the podcast. If you have not purchased your copy of the audiobook, this is the time, like literally hit pause. entremd.com/7-figure book. Get it and start mastering the framework. And if you're ready to work the framework, you're ready to workshop the framework, you're ready to be in community with physicians who are doing this, come join us in the Profitable Private Practice Movement. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. All you have to do is book a call with my team, entremd.com/call. We would be happy to walk you through how we can support you on this journey, okay? Because you are going to go from egg to chicken, but the process of incubation is required. So for you, the process of immersion is required. The process of mentorship is required. The process of accountability is required. These are all things that we do. Okay. So get your book, book your call, and let us go on this journey. But from this moment, I want you to embrace seven figures as the new floor. I want you to embrace seven figures as this is what we do. This is what makes sense. Okay. And please, if this was helpful to you, I want you to take this episode, share it with the doctors in your world, invite them to join you on the journey, invite them to the era of the seven-figure physician CEO, because this is where we are and we are here to stay. I am rooting for you. We are here to support you in every single way that we can. But this is the way I want you thinking from this moment on. Seven figures is a new floor. This is the way we do it. This is what makes sense. I can't wait to meet the next version of me. I cannot wait for the impact I create. And I cannot wait for the financial freedom this creates for me. Rooting for you always. See you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.